Hello, I'm Sonia Mainstone-Cotton, and this is the last video that I'm doing on the adult and children's wellbeing on children returning to nursery in June. This little video is going to show you some resources. If I was delivering this training to you in person, then I would have a whole load of resources with me that I would suggest that might be useful for some of them for your setting. So instead of bringing resources, I'm going to show you the ones that I use a lot in my job as a nurture outreach support worker. So first of all, they're mostly all books that I'm going to show you, and there are so many books on the market now, but these are the ones that I use regularly that I just think would be really useful. Using books about emotions, talking to children about emotions is the main thing that we do in our service. I use this book quite a lot, the Feelings book. It's a brilliant book for across the ages, so you can use it with very young children, but also slightly older ones too. It's by Todd Parr. So remember that reception class children are the age I usually work with, and I've used this with them and they've really enjoyed it, but it works with younger too. And along with that, I also enjoy using these by the same person. That's the Feelings flashcards. They're great. We play games with those. We use them in lots of different ways. We get the children to see what the image is and then to mimic the image, to mirror it to me, so that we do lots of kind of game playing around that and talk about those feelings. Another feelings book that I use a lot, that is a real favourite of mine this year, is The Colour Monster by Anna Lennis. It's a beautiful book. It's really lovely. I would really recommend getting this one. It's just gorgeous. The children I work with love it, and I often make colour monsters with them. So we might have a toilet roll, an empty toilet roll, and we cover it with lots of different colours and use it and link it to the story. And other stories around more issue-based. As I said in some of my films, I think we're going to be seeing a rise in children coming back who are quite stressed and anxious. This is quite a nice book called Worrysaurus by Rachel Bright. It's about a little dinosaur who is quite worried, and it uses the word worry, which can be quite good. I think it's useful to use those very clear emotion words with children if that's what's going on. Another one similar is Ruby's Worry by Tom Percival. I really like this book. I've used that book quite a lot with some of the children I've worked with, and they found it really helpful. Another one by Tom Percival is Ravi's Rage. This is a little boy who gets so angry, and that's been really relevant for me this year. I've had, not for me personally, but I've worked with several children, several boys who have been extremely angry for a whole host of reasons, and Ravi's Raw has been a really useful book to use with them. I talked in some of my videos about children maybe really struggling around attachment and leaving parents and coming back into the setting, and they might be finding that quite hard. This is a beautiful book called The Invisible String by Patrice Cast. She's done a YouTube video during lockdown where she's reading this. It's quite an old book now, but it's very easy to get hold of from bookshops or from Amazon. It's a lovely book, and it talks about how there is an invisible string of love, and even if we're not in the same room, that invisible string is still there. It's very beautiful. Some books around and resources around mindfulness. So I mentioned the Dorley Kindersley book. This is a new one that's out this year called Calm, Mindfulness for Kids. They've got some really good activities in there which I'd recommend, which I really like. Some really useful things, a whole variety. Some of the things I've told you about in my film, but some other ideas as well. So that's a really lovely book to do. And if mindfulness and exploring mindfulness is something you want to do a bit more, The Happy Book is very good by Nicola Edwards and Katie Hickey. That's a new one that came out last year. That's lovely. And then finally, you may find that children have come back and they've experienced death and bereavement. That's very possible. I know our numbers of deaths in Bath and North East Somerset have been relatively low, but obviously children will have family from all over the place. And that may be something that you're needing to to look at and explore. This is quite a nice book, I think, for explaining death and bereavement to children, called Always and Forever by Alan Durant and Debbie Gilroy. And it uses the words death, and it talks just very gently. There are several books out there on death and bereavement, but this is one that I quite like. I'm a huge advocate of using resources. I think they can be really, really helpful. So if you've got the budget to be able to invest in some books, then maybe some of those might be useful for you. But I hope this small series of films have been handy. I hope there's some ideas there that have been useful. The main message is you need to be looking after your well-being. And when you look after your well-being, you're then in a position to look after the children's well-being. And to remember that these are strange times for all of us. Nobody can be fully prepared in these times. Nobody's going to fully know how we're going to experience this, or what the return is going to look like and how that's going to feel. So be kind to yourself and be kind to the children too. I hope you all keep safe and it goes well on your return. Thank you for your time.